Hello, hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about something very interesting and local to me. The Attorney General, Dana Nessel, is upset with the city of Hamtramck, and we've talked about this story before. But in Hamtramck, it's there's a lot of Muslims who live in the city. As a matter of fact, it's an all Muslim city council and a Muslim mayor, and so they had a neutral policy that they enacted. So they're not going to have like any like LGBT flags fly on city property. You can still do it in your home or whatever. On city property, no, like government buildings, etc. But it's not just, they didn't ban pride flags specifically. They just banned like all flags that aren't like the American flag, government, the city flag or state flag, etc. And the attorney general's upset about it. So she came to Hamtramck and had some words. So I want to go through some of the things that she said, and also just talk about Dana Nessel. If you guys aren't familiar with her, I've talked about her quite a bit on the show when different things popped up. Perhaps you heard about an attorney general who said, drag queen for every school. That's her. And there's even things going back further than that. But she did mention something in her little spiel that she was overwhelmingly voted for by Hamtramck. And I'm like, well, she has a point that, because they were like, all these people interfering are outsiders. And she's like, you guys voted for me and I represent you and I worked, in this area, etc. And I think she's wrong on her like ideology of like just about everything. But she has a point that these people keep voting for these people who they dislike and despise and stuff. So we'll be going through her a bit. Also, CNN released the clip of the recording of Donald Trump, because some people are like, is this recording even real or whatever? I guess I didn't doubt that it was real. I'm just there's some context, I guess, that we didn't have that I wondered about, especially after Trump was asked about it on a Fox News interview with Bret Baier. He was having an interview with a writer, and so he knew it was being recorded, and so he said something about documents, like he had there was the impression that he had documents and he was showing them documents, and he said, well, they're secret, and I can't declassify them now. I could have as president. So that caused like a lot of alarm bells. But how he explained it on Bret, I'm like, oh, well, they're not really documents. Okay. If he's just holding up newspaper clippings and talking about it, that's different. But I don't know. The actual recording doesn't give that impression. So again, I'm looking forward to Trump's defense and his team and what they will bring to light, because I don't think they ever found any documents that he's referring to. But regardless, he's not being charged for anything like particular related to this. It's just a bit of information that paints a broader story. So we'll talk about it and what it means. And also we touched on this yesterday a little bit. Joe Biden is being basically covered by the media in a sympathetic light regarding his corruption with his son, Hunter Biden, and that he's totally entangled in. And they don't want to have to admit that it looks bad for Joe. So they're shifting to oh, let's just feel bad because his son was on crack. And I know what it's like to have family addicted to bad substances, and a lot of Americans know what that feels like. And Biden knows that a lot of Americans know what that feels like, because he helped to sponsor the 1994 crime bill. So that still doesn't excuse all the other things, the nepotism, the favors, the corruption, the coercing people into different, deals. So we'll talk about all those things today. It should be a jam-packed show. So try not to have a long intro. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see you in the chat. Thank you guys who are watching, but I don't say anything. But thank you guys for watching. If maybe you're not saying, I see all the comments right now are from YouTube. So if you're watching on Facebook, you're probably like, I don't see anything because people are commenting on YouTube. So I'm seeing everything come through at once together in the software. So thank you guys for watching. For those who watch who are local, who are all across the country, all around the world. I very much appreciate you guys tuning in. Just shortly, I want to say last week I was not streaming on this channel on YouTube because I got a strike for an interview that I had with Deborah Tilden. So because YouTube is enacting, I guess, policies similar to their COVID policies. If you said something that went against who, they take it down and they give you a strike. And so they wouldn't tell me specifically. I don't there might not even be anything that I said that she said, probably rather, that went against who, and they weren't specific. I didn't think that they would be, even when I appealed it, but it is what it is. The week's over and back, and it's on Rumble. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, there's links in the description across my different social media channels, including the extra YouTube one, which is Cup of Black Tea News. So that's where I was streaming, but there's a Rumble channel, and I was, I'm on Twitter and Instagram and other places. So make sure that you're following there. Go to the website, you drop in your email address. And if you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Cost to stream. Like I mentioned, I'm streaming off of the software to run my website, all that good stuff. So if you can support, God bless you, appreciate it. But I do appreciate people watching. Obviously I didn't get those clicks and, and dollars last week because I couldn't stream. So that kind of put a bit of a dent in things. But I thank you guys for your support and going forward and the support you have given. And also tonight at 8 p.m. I will be having another interview with a friend of mine, dear friend of mine. She actually attends my church, and I've known her for a long time, but I did not know that she had an abortion until a couple years ago, and she asked me to help her with her book, and she told her story, and it's really horrific. It's really horrific. So she was in high school, and so she wanted a blank slate, is how she described it when we talked about it before, and she basically got trauma instead. So whether you are pro-life or pro-choice, or you're mostly pro-life with some exceptions, or whatever, it's important to hear the truth about these things and these procedures, because man, people have some weird things in their head about what does and doesn't happen. So it's important to speak about it. So I'll be glad to have her on and further the conversation. So that'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So that will be hopefully we're done at about 5ish today with the broadcast, at least 5 for me. Don't plan on going too much more longer than an hour, but she will that'll be 3 hours from now. So 3 hours from now when we're done. So you guys know they like to start with a meme, and I do have a meme before we get into the Dana Nessel story. That's going to be our big story, I think. But the big story isn't the one that I'm probably going to talk about the longest. But the meme that I have here, I don't know who made it, but Roger Stone is the one who posted it. So there's photos or whatever of, I think usually this is a parent protecting their kid from a sling and arrow, or from arrows or whatever, and they have a shield normally. And so you got Biden protecting his son and lighting his crack with the fire, obviously, but I can't see if there's something else in his hand other than the fire, but he's holding up the presidency and shielding his son with it. So I wrote an article about the Hunter Biden text with China, the evidence with his dad being right next to him as he's sending threatening text messages. And we talked a bit about yesterday, and we talked about it last week. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that per se, but it totally looks like they're using the Justice Department to go easy on Hunter. There's more things that are corroborating whistleblower statements. The McCarthy has said, at least I saw him say on Fox, that they're going to look a bit further into the allegations, and it's possible that it doesn't look like they're probably going to impeach Joe Biden. I'm not surprised about that. And I know it's probably the right move. Who knows? But I really don't want Kamala to be president. And apparently, a lot of people don't like her because she is like the worst rating among any vice president, according to I think it was an NBC poll. We talked about it yesterday, but I know I shared it on Facebook, but I find it hilarious because I really don't like her. But I don't think that they'll probably impeach Joe. I think they'll probably endure Joe. And I kind of think that the Democrats will quietly try to get him to kind of go away. We'll see. I'm not, that's my thoughts. I'm not trying to make a big prediction. I don't know if I'm necessarily great at those things, but I think I think that would be the best thing for them if they tried to quietly kind of get him to step away or step down. Obama's went to the White House today to have lunch with Joe. Apparently, maybe that's a secret conversation they're having. But I don't know if they'd have that at the White House though. But Joe is just physically declining, but at the same time, he has all this corruption and stuff around him. It would just be so much better for them if they just kind of, you know, let him go. Just let him go off into the sunset to go with his 5 million and other millions in bribes and crying his money. But I don't know what will happen on that front. But the media is doing their darndest to ignore the corruption and have this different spin on things, like, oh my gosh, Joe Biden, he's, you know, we should feel bad for him because his son is on drugs and stuff, which is an awful terrible thing, and a lot of people can relate to having a family member struggle with addiction and how much of a burden. Like, people say, oh, it's a victimless crime. um I don't think so. I don't think so. It just kind of terrorizes. It could terrorize a whole community, but definitely a whole family. I don't think they're victimless crimes, really. But that's my opinion. I'm not super I'm not. Well, I'm not libertarian anyway. But we talked yesterday a little bit about this article, this opinion piece from the New York Times, saying the real meaning of the Hunter Biden saga, as I see it, isn't about presidential corruption, but it's about widespread addiction. So that's the route they're going. And again, you could sympathize with Joe being a father, you know, concerned about the well-being of a son. I do not doubt that at all in the least bit. But I'm more mocking the media here and their choice of how they want to spin this thing. The true meaning of this all, that's where we're going. The true meaning is about a father's love and the perseverance of it. How about the true meaning of it is corruption and coddling your son his whole entire life, that he feels like he can get away with anything because that's how you live your life. So that's probably the real story here. And sorry to sound cynical or be cynical, but they've kind of proven that Joe can basically get away with just about anything. Because he's there sitting in that Oval Office, is he not? But The View, they had Anna Navarro talking about this, and I just got a little teeny tiny clip to show you guys of it. But she's supposed to be the Republican on the panel, just simping for Joe as well.
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
So, yes, he's a father, but that doesn't mean he's a a good one. Or even if he's good to his son to a degree, that doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing or he's acting appropriately. He's obviously not acting appropriately. He's had to change a story, like, oh, I never talked to my son about his business dealings, and now it's, oh, I am not in business with my son, because there's evidence provided by his own son. And it's such a dangerous situation for him to be in anyway, knowing how compromised his son was with addiction and drugs. Like, the Hunter Biden laptop story does sound crazy. Like, Rudy Giuliani, someone reached out and had Hunter Biden's laptop with all this. Like, what? It sounds crazy. Like, I don't begrudge people for thinking that it sounded so weird and that it couldn't be true at first. But if you looked into it, I'm like, no one's like outright kind of denying it. They're kind of like they're saying it's disinformation, yet people are responding to different emails and because like Frank Luntz for example, he does like a lot of not polling, but gosh, what do you call it when there's a town hall or something and they're like responding to the people who watch it or whatever. I focus. I don't think it's focus groups, but when in politics, like I think there's another term for it, but I can't think of it. But Frank Lutz, um, he was in an email with Hunter Biden. Someone like posted it or something. I guess kind of to expose Frank as if he's or whatever. And Frank was just like, he explained the context of it or whatever, like it wasn't a big deal. And I'm like, okay, well he just like replied to this email that's clearly true or at least real. So I'm like, there's information that has the people are like corroborating this thing, but they just wanted to keep pretending like it wasn't real. So there's all these lies surrounding it, and it's finally like coming to a head. And again, I've said this many times, but the Hunter Biden story, him leaving his laptop there at the shop, people do that anyway. Working at a computer store, or I used to work at a computer store, there's all kinds of things that happen in places like those, or customers from all different walks of life. But him leaving a machine with such sensitive information on it, including like a lot of like pornographic sort of things, it makes sense once you realize he's a crackhead. So crackheads do crackhead things. And so Joe Biden relying so much on his son to do these kind of secret deals and thinking that it would never get back to blow back on him in any kind of way. That's crazy. That's crazy. When someone is sniffing Parmesan cheese when they can't get a fix of actual drugs, that's not someone who you link your bank account to. Tries to like take care of the bills. So it's all so stupid. Joe Biden does a lot of stupid things, and as well as Hunter here, and Hunter putting that his dad was sitting right next to him in a text message. Of course, none of it was wise in the least bit. But the apple just doesn't fall too far from the tree. Biden has never been like, that super sharp. But someone asked, did I see the clip of Biden just talking about the classified was selling state secrets. I did see it. I do have a little clip. It's really quick. I don't have the. He does say that he's joking, but what a heck of a thing to joke about when he's being accused of all sorts of awful things.
I was just thinking. Anyway, I started off without you, and I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
What a thing to joke about. What a thing to joke about. And I don't think it's a joke. I think he's so entitled and so smug that he can just blatantly say what he's doing, and he thinks he's never going to face any repercussions. And any serious ones, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to spend the rest of his days in jail. Even if they convince him to just kind of step aside and not run for president again. And that's the best that we get, him not being president again for a second term. That doesn't sound like much justice, but I think that's a kind of best case scenario. Like if you're thinking that he's gonna, him and his son are gonna go to jail or something, like Paul Manafort, or for acting, with trying to do business deals with foreign agents and stuff. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't. If you do, I just wouldn't hold my breath. I wouldn't hold my breath. But just like there was the not whistleblower, there was an informant. The FBI had a credible informant who said that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were both getting bribes of $5 million. And they asked Joe Biden about it, and he said, well, where's the money at? But the informant also said that the way that they set up like the payments and stuff, they won't find it for like years or whatever anyway. And so Joe Biden is like confident that he's just not going to be held accountable for this stuff. It's not that he's innocent. And it looks bad. And I think people know that it looks bad. That's why they're kind of shifting this to the sympathetic. Oh, well, his son is a crackhead. Even Hunter's lawyers are like, they put out a statement that's essentially, he was a crackhead. He's under the influence, like, so you can't take what he said about his family seriously. So, but there's evidence. Again, I'm not gonna jump through the whole like point by point today, but I did write an article. You can go to blacktnews.com and check out an article. I mean, there's lots of articles, but you guys can, I do have the picture of Hunter and his dad's Corvette on the same day. So anyway, let's move on. So we talked about the story in Hamtramck before. So there's Hamtramck is in Michigan. So it's a small city, like Detroitish area, and there's a lot of Muslims there. It has an all Muslim city council. It has and it has a Muslim mayor as well. And so they decided to vote to have a neutral flag policy. Again, it's a neutral flag policy. So it means that you can't fly a BLM flag on government property, on like city property. You can't fly a LGBT, all inclusion, that really ugly flag with the triangles, with the trans and the brown, black and brown, and it mixed with the pride. It's such a hideous flag. It's so disgusting. Like disgust, not just like because I'm all the kind of sexual orientation like stuff. That's not even why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because it's just disgusting look. It's so ugly. The design is just awful. So whether that's flag or just the classic kind of gay pride flag without the T and the rest of the stuff in it, you can't fly that. And you can't fly a Christian flag, and you can't fly a Muslim flag. You can fly the American flag, and the American flag should be good enough to represent Americans. It should be good enough to do that. You can fly the state flag, you can fly the city flag or whatever, and you can fly the POW flag, and there was like another flag that they could fly, but everything else you can't. So people got very upset, and and a lot of people came out, and we looked at the videos, and it looked like a lot of white libs. Sometimes people are like, why are you bringing race into it? I'm like, I'm making an observation. And I think it's funny and sometimes necessary to make a distinction, because people like to blame like white evangelical conservatives as if they're just the only opposition in the world. And I'm like, no, other people feel the same way. So sometimes I think it's important to put that perspective, that sometimes it's like you white libs versus the world. So there was, I'm not saying it was only white libs, but from my observation, there was a lot of white libs out there protesting. Again, all Muslim city council, a Muslim mayor, and there was even a lesbian couple that kissed in front of everybody to, I don't know, make their point. I think they're also like had clown noses on. It was really bizarre. So they think neutrality is evil. they think when you are neutral, then that means the oppressed are losing. And so, granted, since this is Pride Month, how you got the White House that's lit up, that you have pride flags draped at the same length, same standing as the American flag. You had a trans woman flash his fake boobs at the White House, which the White House did denounce. But by the way, we haven't talked about this. I don't have the clip. If you guys haven't been following me, I guess you can go back or something. But I'll have to do a YouTube short or something about this. But the person who flashed his fake boobies, he was on TikTok and he's a pretty big account, complaining about the Covenant shooter, because people were not about the shooter, but because people weren't respecting her pronouns, weren't using like they them or he him pronouns for the shooter. And so there was unfortunately quite a few people on that side of the aisle on TikTok trying to make that case that you have to still respect their pronouns, and people were just like, this person killed kids, like nobody cares. um but I didn't know how many big accounts said it, so I was scrolling through TikTok and I found that out recently. So um the fact that that was the person that they invited to the White House for Pride Month, even after they said those things, is pretty egregious to me. So that's what the White House did. Just so I just want you to know that. We can complain about that more on another day, but I just wanted to throw that little nugget out there. So it doesn't feel like right now, like the LGBT is really an oppressed class in America. Like I know a lot of people are talking about the transgender movement, and there's a lot of bills going on right now about puberty blockers, etc. And I think that's really because people are preying upon these young kids and young people and people who may have other conditions, and they're getting fast tracked to do some irreversible damage to their bodies. So maybe people don't see these bills and restrictions and these conversations as compassionate. um but that is honestly the intent. So you can take it or leave it. We can, I guess, debate that or try to explain our positions, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. But they believe that any neutrality and not getting special privilege is somehow an attack and an oppression on them. So Dana Nessel had a little speech. So I'm going to go through her clips and play her clips. But before I play her clips, I want you guys to know a little bit about Dana Nessel, right? So I'm going to play at least 2 videos before I play her. There's like 3 snippets. I think because she didn't pay for a verification, she can't post more than videos longer than 2 minutes and 19 seconds. So there's like 3 parts. So it's crazy that well, I mean, Elon said people had to pay, and I guess she didn't pay. So she is a lesbian. She's married to a woman. And you might say, well, why is that relevant? Is that relevant? Kind of. That's how she kind of came out the gate for her when she first ran. So this is her primary election video that I'm about to show you guys. This is pretty crazy.
If the last few weeks has taught us anything, it's that we need more women in positions of power, not less. So, when you're choosing Michigan's next Attorney General, ask yourself this: who can you trust most not to show you their penis in a professional setting? Is it the candidate who doesn't have a penis? I'd say so. Some people will tell you I can't be the Democratic nominee for Attorney General here in Michigan because we can't have an all-female ticket for statewide office in 2018. Pundits and insiders are asking, can we afford to have a female governor, a female attorney general, and a female secretary of state? Well, I read the news, and I bet you do too. And it has me wondering, can we afford not to? Now, if you want to know more about what I'll do as Michigan Attorney General, head to Dana.
So that was the relevant. We already watched what was relevant. The the whole appendage situation. So that was how she pitched herself. You can't trust dudes because they have a penis. So I'm like, her shtick is, hi, I'm a man hating lesbian, and you can't trust dudes, so vote for women. Vote for me. We can have an all female ticket, and they did win. And I think that's mostly the Michigan politics of that year when they got elected. It's a strategy now in Michigan, and this is something we'll have to figure out something else probably they put on the ballot to drive out turnout. But I don't know if they necessarily need to now because we've changed some of our election laws. Republicans are going to be fighting an uphill battle for a while in Michigan, but she got carried over for sure. We had pot on the ballot, the legalization of pot, so it did drive out high turnout. Like Gretchen Whitmer got elected. Her numbers, granted, 2016 Hillary, probably in their estimation underperformed, and she didn't get the numbers like she thought she would or hoped that she would. But Whitmer didn't. Her numbers weren't that dramatically different, and it wasn't a presidential year. Usually you get like, a big kind of a difference between like presidential year versus like a midterm or whatever. So people came out to vote, and Michigan, it is like a purple state, but it is pretty blue. It is pretty blue. Detroit, Wayne County is a big area. There's other big cities that are getting bluer, and some big counties, like where I live in Oakland, have flipped and are no longer red. They are blue and getting bluer by the day. So the reason why I don't want to get to all the intricacies of Michigan politics, but Republicans have been able to maintain control for a while, but because of how they did redistricting and other things, just through a very long term plan, now Democrats like run the whole state. So it's unfortunate. It continues to be unfortunate, but she got dragged over, I would say, because of a lot of particular circumstances. I don't think a lot of people knew or cared too much about Dana Nessel. That was a race that they didn't think that they probably thought they were going to lose. But unfortunately, she out of the governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, I think she like had the least among the three. But they pulled her over. Straight party ticket voting, pulled her over. So she's the attorney general and has been, but she's said some crazy stuff. A lot of crazy stuff, done some crazy stuff. There's a story about how she went to a game and was wasted and had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair. And there's other things as well. So here's a video that I cut some time about Dana Nessel. She's a person who said, we need a drag queen for every school.
No, it's not a problem for kids who are seeking a good education. Drag queens. Okay? Let me say this. Drag queens, not only are they not hurting our kids, drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun. Drag queens are entertainment. And you know what I'll say that was totally not poll tested? I say this. A drag queen for every school. That is what would be fun for kids and lift them up when they are having emotional issues.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just got reelected. Um, Abortion was a huge factor in our election, but there's other factors. If you didn't live in Michigan, you don't know how crazy the ads were nonstop the whole time against our candidates and stuff. So there's a huge just money gap, and it's hard to beat an incumbent anyway, just a lot of different factors. So anyway, she's still the attorney general, and so she was upset about Hamtramck, again, an all Muslim city council, Muslim mayor, and she thought that they should continue to be able to raise pride flags, and that having a neutral flag policy is a bad thing. So we're gonna listen to her speech a little bit. There's more crazy things I can say about her, but we're gonna get to this particular crazy thing that's going on with sadly my attorney general.
In a time of great turbulence in our state and nation, when discrimination and hate crimes are on the rise against historically marginalized communities, now is the time.
I'm sorry, that's not the first one. There's three. Sorry.
So instead of speaking extemporaneously, I wrote a speech. So I hope it's okay if I read it, because I think this is really important what you're doing here today, and I want to get this right. So again, my name is Dana Nessel, and I am your Michigan Attorney General. Now, I come here today to implore the government of the city of Hamtramck to repeal its resolution to ban the pride flag, and to instead pledge to love, support, and recognize the dignity and the value of all those who live, visit, and do business with Hamtramck. Now, I have heard that Mayor Galeb has said that those who make this request are strangers and outsiders to Hamtramck. Friends, I have spent my career here at the 31st District Court, fighting for crime victims, defending the rights of indigent defendants, people who were too poor to be able to afford an attorney. I have been here over and over again for your events and your festivals. When I ran for office in 2018, I was endorsed by the Bangladeshi and Yemeni caucuses of the Michigan Democratic Party, who stood on stage with me when I earned the endorsement of my party. The city of Hamtramck voted for me in overwhelming numbers in 2 consecutive election cycles, and I have fought tirelessly for Hamtramck and for the Muslim community over the course of my last 4.5 years in office. I am not a stranger to you. I am not an agitator. I am your Attorney General, and yes, I am also gay.
So, to her point, they did overwhelmingly vote for her. So when you see things being pushed in the state, like during election season, I pointed out that the Michigan Department of Education was having some kind of training, and they were showing videos of all kinds of weird stuff and like propping up like chest binders. If you don't know what chest binder is, it's something to bind your chest. If you're like a young woman or something, you want to, maybe you're trans and you want to, you don't want to have that feminine form or whatever, and then it does such like damage to your body, including to your breasts, that it does get you to a point where, I mean, eventually your breasts aren't gonna be looking too good after you compress them all the time, so why not just, I guess, chop them off at that point? So it conditions you toward that route of getting a double mastectomy. But I'm like, why is the Michigan Department of Education showing these videos and uplifting this stuff? It's so weird. So you can complain about this kind of stuff going on in Michigan, but you have like radicals, not just people who support the LGBT community. I'm talking about like radicals. She's a radical, Benson's a radical, Whitmer's a radical, but Nessel, I showed you the video with the whatever, well, 2 of her videos. She's a radical person. And there's more to it than that. There's definitely other things. I actually did 10 reasons not to vote for Dana Nessel for the Bride of Michigan PAC or whatever, but no, I didn't do it for the PAC. Yeah, it was for the PAC. Yeah, it was for the PAC. Yeah. Bride of Michigan PAC. And and unfortunately she still won, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. And there's more. Could have definitely did more. But she is a radical. So when you go and you vote and you're a party person and you want to vote for your team, you have to know what your team stands for and what they're going to push. So you have to do some more research, and you have to think about where they're going and what you want done in your community, in your life, and how it's going to affect your friends and your family, and decide like, oh, you know what? My values are a bit more conservative than the route that they're going. I don't think it's okay to have a drag queen for every school. I don't think that's okay. So I don't think that you should sue adoption agencies and try to put Christian charities out of business if they don't want to if they want to adhere to their faith. They can go somewhere else where they do good work. There's no point in putting them out, closing up their shops and not having a place for these kids to go. That doesn't make any sense to me. If you're that kind of person, why do you keep voting for people like Dana Nessel just because she has a D next to her name? So if people want to start having better representation, they have to be responsible with their voting process. So she made a good point. People overwhelmingly voted for her. So now she's pushing back because that's the kind of person that she is. And it hasn't been a secret, has never been a secret.
Time for Muslims and the LGBTQ community.
Let me roll it back, sorry.
In a time of great turbulence in our state and nation, when discrimination and hate crimes are on the rise against historically marginalized communities, now is the time for Muslims and the LGBT.
I'm sorry. How did I jump to the third? I'm sorry. I jumped to that third one again.
Now, Mayor Galeb has said that banning the pride flag is meant to keep the city neutral and impartial towards its residents. Respectfully, I disagree. Banning the pride flag is meant to send the very opposite message, a message of intolerance, hatred, and bigotry. As it said, in situations of injustice, neutrality always favors the oppressor, never the oppressed. And as Martin Luther King Jr. so aptly observed, the hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict. Anyone who accepts evil without protesting against it is one who cooperates with it. And make no mistake, homophobia, transphobia are indeed forms of evil just as much as Islamophobia is.
So I am not a Muslim. But you're talking about, well, first of all, they use homophobic and transphobic. They throw those words around a lot. And basically, if you're not, so if you don't want to fly the flag, I guess you're homophobic. And if you don't use pronouns, people's pronouns or whatever, or you say that Dylan Mulvaney's a man or something like that, they think you're transphobic. So there's a very low bar to qualify for these things. So I don't think it's evil to say, hey, Bruce Jenner is, he can call himself Caitlyn, but he's still a dude who like won, who like have competed in the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. So it's you can't just undo life like it didn't happen. You can have your perception, and I can acknowledge you have a perception, but you're saying I'm like a bad person. I mean, it's evil to not engage. You can't even ignore people. There was once a time. Do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember when the pitch was, it's none of your business what two consenting adults do in their bedroom? That was the pitch. Now, if you're religious, you kind of care about what everyone does because you don't want to, do people to do simple things and end up not in heaven. So it's maybe not your business so much, but it's still like your duty to preach. So there's always been a conflicting thing there, but let's go with that. Let's say it's your business what two people do in the bedroom. I don't believe in like, I think most people, even if they're not pro gay marriage, they wouldn't be like, yeah, let's get some sodomy laws. Like, I don't virtually like no support for that whatsoever, and I wouldn't support something like that, and it'd be like unenforceable anyway. So it just would be ridiculous on that front. But it was two people can do whatever they want in their bedroom. Now it's if you don't fly the flag on city property, even if you're not singling it out specifically, you're just saying, hey, you can't fly a super straight flag either, which on TikTok, there was a guy who invented like super straight because he got sick of these trans women saying you're transphobic if you won't sleep with me. Yes, there are people saying that on social media, trans women saying, if you're transphobic if you won't date a trans woman because they're still a woman. And so someone said, I'm sick of people saying that. So I'm super straight, which means I'm only attracted to people who are cisgender or something. Or I don't even know if they were using cis at the time. Just you have to identify as the sex that you were born with or whatever the gender you're born with. So actually his stuff got taken down. He ended up getting banned. A lot of super straight stuff got banned. I don't think you can use a hashtag. So that happened like when I first came on TikTok. It was I have a video on it on YouTube, if you search for it, but they don't like stuff like that. They don't want that to fly. They have an issue with if they're flying a Christian flag, people will be upset. Church of Satan would probably show up and say you can't do that or whatever and sue. You have but what if they flew a Muslim flag or whatever? There's a lot of Muslims who live there, so they're saying no, we're not going to do those things. We're just going to have a neutral policy. We're all united under the United States flag. We're all American citizens here, are we not? So that's how we're going to be united, and that can represent us. And they say no, that is oppression and it is evil and we have to protest, and it's wrong to just not say anything, and it's wrong not to act. And when as she's saying all this stuff, in my mind, she's so radical on abortion. I'm just like, you kill babies, you're for and I'm like, but using the wrong pronoun is evil to these people. Anyway, the Democrat platform actually says like that they reject neutral policies. Now, they particularly said neutral policies on race. There might be something in there for as far as like LGBT stuff regarding neutrality. I'm not sure. I have to double check, but they believe that you really can't have neutrality because, as she said, the oppressed class will be the ones who are losing out. And I reject that. I don't think that's true. America, in the United States of America, so many people can rise to the top from the bottom of the barrel as long as they work hard. The Brookings Institute said, which is not a conservative think tank right by any means, say if you graduate high school, get a job, keep a job, and don't have children out of wedlock, then you're probably not going to be permanently poor in the United States. So, and I'm not saying there's not things that can happen, like catastrophic accident that leaves you crippled, or other things like that it's like a golden ticket, like Willy Wonka or whatever, to go to the chocolate factory of life. But which even the people who got a ticket, a lot of went home empty. Well, all but one went home empty handed. So there's no guarantees in life, but there's so much space for upward mobility, for people to succeed. You can't control people's hearts and minds how they feel, but the same like rights that I have should be the same ones that apply to Dana Nessel. And I don't want her to have more rights because she's gay. And I was gonna say I don't think she thinks I should have more rights because I'm Black, but maybe she does. Maybe she does. But I don't we should all be treated equally. Now I don't think that's necessarily people's experiences sometimes. I mean, we just got done talking about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. So not everyone is the reality is not everyone is treated fairly, but that doesn't mean that that's in practice, not everyone is treated fairly. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the laws and the rules and people being treated neutrally. But here's the thing, though. Why do they get to win? Why should they win? Because obviously there's a lot of Muslim people in the community who don't want to see the gay pride flag flying over, their city building or whatever. So you cannot like that. But why do you get to win? Why does your side get to win? Why your side, not their side, and not the Christians or whoever? Why your side? Why your side? Like, and she's comparing Islamophobia to homophobia. We're talking about, and I'm not a Muslim, so there's definitely things in there that I don't agree with. But you're talking about their ideology versus it's your actions, I guess. I mean, some of it is identity or whatever, but it's who you like to sleep with, right? So you're talking about like a representation celebrating this physical thing that you like to do with particular people or whatever. It's not a friendship is magic flag, versus like people being treated poorly because of their ideology. And you can dislike people's ideology. Of course there's ideologies that we don't respect or like, and we debate, but and I'm not trying to make the argument right, at least not right now, or anything, that one is wrong or one is right. Like it's okay to be homophobic. That's not what I'm saying. But it bothers me that people throw in all these comparisons as if they're the same and they're not. I'm not saying that you should treat homosexuals wrong or you should treat trans people wrong. And we talk about this stuff a lot on the show or just in general, but that's not my intention, that I want folks to do things like that. But again, why, if you're rejecting a neutral policy, why is it that you're the ones who get to raise your flags as if you've conquered the land and everyone else just has to be upset about it? Because you know that they find that offensive to their faith. So why do you get to win? It is much better if everyone just has respect and they're like, you can fly your flag at home and I'll go to my mosque. That's actually respect. Respect is not we all bow down and have to do what you force us to do. That's not respect. But she doesn't believe in respect. She believes in conquering. She believes in conquer. I mean, what do you do when you go to battle? You go to war, you wage a battle. What do you do? What do you raise your flag to say this is the territory that we have conquered? That is that they say it's celebration. Isn't that what it's for? Because it's not about like two people just being happy doing whatever in their bedroom. It's you have to participate, you have to like it, or if you don't like it, just shut up and pretend that you do, and you have to celebrate and you have to protest these things. Because if you don't, she's saying if you don't protest it too, then you're also a bad person, that it's evil. And there's a special, she said there's a special place in hell. Want to talk about religion? There's a special place in hell for being neutral. So that's my attorney general. So let's play finally the third clip that I kept accidentally playing. But here's the end of.
In a time of great turbulence in our state and nation, when discrimination and hate crimes are on the rise against historically marginalized communities, now is the time for Muslims and the LGBTQ communities to stand together. Those who wish the LGBTQ community harm are the very same people who threaten the lives and liberties of Muslims in our nation. And we must stand together, united, not divided. The consequences of allowing those who wish harm on both our communities to divide us are nothing short of catastrophic. Let us remember the prescient words of Martin Niemöller. First they came for the socialists, but I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, but I did not speak up because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me. And what happened? There was no one left to speak up. So I asked the city of Hamtramck to use its voice to speak up for all its people. Take down the wall you have now built that has made this proud city into a national embarrassment, and raise the flag of equality. Hamtramck, I will continue to fight for you in Lansing, but I ask that you treat all your residents with dignity, value, support, and equal protection. We are all deserving of as much, no more and no less. I love you, Hamtramck.
I'm going to go back to what she said at the beginning because I wanted to comment on.
In a time of great turbulence in our state and nation, when discrimination and hate crimes are on the rise against historically marginalized communities. Now is the time for Muslims and the LGBTQ communities to stand together.
So okay, so she goes into this big thing about like the people who don't like me and don't like you. They don't, they're all the same people. We need to join together. But here's the thing about this coalition. Um, they still don't like what you do, ma'am. Like they're opposed to you being with a woman, or maybe that's fine, and they're like, you're an adult, you whatever, it's fine, but just don't raise the flag. They're just all they're saying. You have a problem with it. So if you can't even take this, how are they supposed to build a bridge? How are they supposed to build a bridge with you when you're like, it's wrong for everyone to be treated the same? If everyone being treated the same is a problem, how are you supposed to build a bridge? Because what you're saying is that they have to get over the fact that they have this ideology, and they see it as sinful, etc. They just have to, and it's immoral, whatever. They don't want it around their kids. They don't want to celebrate or whatever. You can do whatever you want to, but we just want to have a neutral space. That's not good enough for you. So how are they supposed to come together? Because you clearly think you're more important than them. You clearly think you're more important to them. So why should they lay down all their hookups and issues or whatever and link arms with you? I could say the same thing. The same people who are against them and their beliefs and are calling them homophobic and transphobic are against the Christians and the evangelicals, and the people who saying leave the kids alone. People who are LGBT, and they're just like, bro, like it's fine. Like we can marry who we want, and stop pushing it. You're just going to make things worse. Though, like, we could all link arms and say that you guys are the weirdos because we don't think that drag is good for every school. So what she's saying to them, like, we could say to them, and as a matter of fact, the Michigan Republican Party, though, there's some issues we're not going to get into today, but at our meeting when we had our voted in new leadership and stuff, there's like 3 Muslims now, and 3-4 Muslims, like, for different positions within the Republican Party that were elected by the entire voting body. Excuse me. And this sparked because all the pushing of like the inappropriate books, like the book, this book is gay, and other stuff that they're pushing in schools, or at least have in schools that parents don't like. So her saying that Hamtramck has become a national embarrassment, that's not true. There's definitely some people upset, but there's definitely some people high-fiving them and saying that they're doing the right thing, and they're continuing to do the right thing. So she's trying to bully and embarrass them or whatever, and I hope it doesn't work. I don't think it's going to work, but why should, if you can't even agree that everyone should be treated the same, why should we compromise at all? So and I know that she doesn't really care about people and their beliefs and marginalized communities, etc. If you disagree with her, she don't like you, she don't care for you, she won't stand up for you. So there's a video that clip. Let me see if I can find it really quick, because I had it, but I think it like timed out, pulled up. So Dana Nessel was at an event with Christina Caramo, who ran for Secretary of State, and she started bashing her beliefs pretty much. Here it is.
Talk about something else that is a big threat to us here in this room and here in America. And those are people who are running for public office that believe and that say to you out loud that America is a Christian nation and that we only have room for people who are Christians in this nation.
So she was at an event, and I forget what particular event, but Christina Caramo was there, who's outspoken Christian, and No, Christina, I I know Christina pretty well. Um, she has made some claims and different things that I'm not like totally on board with some stuff, but we agree on a lot, disagree on a bit. But she's evangelical, gone to some mainstream black churches, and the media did a couple of like hit pieces on her beliefs and sent out mailers. And she was running for Secretary of State, and they're running mailers talking about how um you know she talked about Beyonce on a Christian podcast and talked about like demons and which what people who believe in Christianity don't believe in demons. And also they attacked her for saying that abortion was um child sacrifice. And I'm like, okay, how's that literally not child sacrifice? I'm like, how's that wrong? So anyway, they kept there are mailers that were sent out against her, there are articles or whatever. So anyway, she saw her in the room, so she just started ripping on people who are Christian who are running for office. She's particularly talking about her, so she doesn't think that and she didn't say that America is only a place for Christians. She didn't say that. So she was just making up stuff, but she was just attacking someone who she knew was a Christian who's running for office, because there's stuff that, obviously doesn't condone how Dana Nessel lives her life, but the same can be said for Muslims. The book, there was it was in Dearborn. There was a big protest and at the school board meeting because there were some books that they wanted taken out of the school. And one of the books was this book. This book is gay, that has some graphic, explicit material in it. And there's even a section in it that tells you how to debate with Muslims about homosexuality. And there's a section in it that teaches kids how to go on apps to find gay people. And it's a kid's book, like not like little teeny kids, but like young people, like 13 and 17 or something like that. So I'm like, this isn't appropriate at all in the least bit. So people are like, we want these books out of the schools. And then you had all these libs, I'll say it again, white libs. I'm saying they're all white, but there was a lot of them who came to speak out and were upset about them trying to get rid of the books. And I'm just like, why do you feel so attacked when we say that we don't want like graphic, sexual, explicit stuff in the schools? That doesn't make you less gay. That doesn't mean, your feelings aren't real. What does this thing that we see as perverted have to do with you? Why do you feel so attached? Because there's plenty of gay people who are like, nah, that's inappropriate. So I don't understand all these people who keep coming to these meetings who are so wounded as if it's a personal attack. Now, if it is a personal attack when we say you shouldn't have like these gross books in the school, maybe we need to check your hard drive. I don't know. Maybe we need to check your hard drive. So, yeah, Dana Nessel's full of it. She's full of it. So still wanting to reach out to the Muslim community and say we can work together and stuff. I think a lot of that has to do with like she sees them as an oppressed class, and they want to keep building that coalition even though they widely disagree on things. And that's why a lot of times when people talk about Christians, they don't talk about Christians as a whole. They talk about white evangelical Christians in their mind. That's who they associate with like bad whiteness in America, like who they have to defeat and stuff. But I'm like, but it's black people, for example, who are more likely to go to church 3 times, like several times a week, so but they want that coalition so bad. But moral of the story, let them be able to fly the American flag and learn to live with that. Like that should be your pride flag. As a matter of fact, on my website I have a t-shirt that has the American flag. It says, "This is my pride flag." That should be enough. That should represent enough people. And if you want to fly a pride flag on your property, you are absolutely free to do that. But why shouldn't government buildings be a neutral place? You just want to you're just mad because Democrats are running the whole state, these big cities, just Democrats everywhere. You can't get a Republican like in like Detroit or somewhere. You can't do it. You own like so much of this space. You got the House, you got the Senate, you got the governor's mansion, Secretary of State office that are run like garbage, and the Attorney General's office. You have it, and that's not enough. You want to be able to fly your flags in Hamtramck of all places. You can't just take the L. It's not even an L. It's not even L. It's just a neutral ground, and it's still not enough. So what will ever be enough? What is the end game? Where is the end game? What is the end game? If being treated like everyone else was not the point, because it was clearly never the point, Dana. Clearly never the point. Anyway, let's move on. And I don't want to be on this story long because I'm already over an hour. But CNN did play the recording of Donald Trump talking about a plan to invade Iran or some kind of military operation or something, Iran or something. So it was alleged, there's a transcript in the indictment of Trump having an interview. So I don't understand, like, he hates the press, they're the enemy of the people, blah, blah, blah. But there are times when he would just invite people in, because sometimes, I don't know, he still liked attention, like you could compliment him and he's like, oh, it's fine or whatever. Like there's one guy who came to the White House and did a bunch of interviews and ended up like reporting like Trump says he downplayed the threats of COVID. And I'm like, why did you let this guy around you? So sometimes it makes baffling decisions, but they knew this was obviously recorded. And he even says this is off the record. I'm like, they didn't listen, sir. They didn't listen, sir. It wasn't a wise thing to do. So people were like, well, is this real? Is this not real? Or whatever. What's the actual context? So CNN did end up playing it. But before I play that, I'm going to just remind you guys, did an interview with Fox News and with Brett Baer, and they did talk about it a bit. So once he talked about it with Brett, I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's some different context. Because I was like reading the indictment and I'm just like, this looks so bad. I'm like, why? And then when he talked to Brett, and I'm like, oh, well, this sounds a little different. And then the recording kind of lends a different perspective as well. So let's start with Brett and go from there.
According to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a plan of attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president, the Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This is specifically a quote. You're quoted on the recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on tape,
it says just the opposite,
that you can't declassify it. So why have it?
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify.
And that's what you said. You didn't declassify it.
I said no. I said I couldn't.
But
that wasn't a document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying what the indictment says.
Well,
the recording and the people in the room who testified.
These people are very dishonest people. They're thugs. They're thugs. If you look at what they've done to other people, what they've done and overturned in the U.S. Supreme Court, these are thugs.
The suggestion was that you wanted this as evidence that the military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, had preemptively sent you plans for a possible attack on Iran and that you didn't order that to happen. That's the suggestion.
I never ordered it to happen, no.
But that's why you wanted the document.
I don't think I've ever seen a document from Milley. Milley, frankly, was incompetent. The last one I'd want to attack with as my leader would be Milley. That I can tell you.
All
and
right,
I think
last
you
thing
know
on
that.
this.
Okay, so reading the indictment, just like, or that section of the indictment, that when they're going through the transcript, I'm like, this looks not good at all. And because people keep saying like Presidential Records Act, those are his records. He can just declassify, those are declassified or whatever. But reading the transcript is like, well, okay, well, Trump has these documents and he's saying that he didn't declassify them. Now, whether you could argue whether he says one thing or another, it doesn't matter because he still has that power. You could try going that route, but in his mind or whatever, he was saying it wasn't classified. So I had all these questions and upset about stuff. And so I'm like, this is not wise at all in the least bit. It's still not wise regardless. I don't know why he can be allow himself to be so vulnerable in the media sometimes, but so this interview with Brett, he's like, "Oh no, those were like it wasn't documents, they were like newspaper. It was a newspaper or whatever." And so I'm like, "Oh, well gosh, that's a different story." Because they said that from my understanding, they didn't find these documents that is being referred to. So if it's newspaper clippings, you know, but obviously that's a whole different story, and the context is not at all what everyone was thinking. So now CNN has actually released, because we were saying, what if this isn't even real or whatever, which I guess, Trump did confirm it in that interview. So let's actually watch the CNN releasing of the audio.
Bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the
like
beginning.
when Millie's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Mm-hmm.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. There's a secret information. Look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert. By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
declassify.
Figure out
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Look, here and I have. And you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
it's incredible, right?
No,
hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
So, somebody asked why was he being recorded? He knew he was being recorded. He was talking to like a writer and publisher and stuff. So, he knew he was being recorded. So, as far as just that mouth, you can love what he does and his policies or whatever, but I'm just like, and the mouth, he gets himself into some sticky situations, bro. So to me it didn't sound like going through newspapers. So, but they can't find the document. So he might not even been looking at a document that he thought was what he said it was or whatever. So but I guess it doesn't really matter because he's not being charged for exposing those documents particularly to them anyway. Again, they couldn't find it. But it's just not a good look. But some people are like, why? the story doesn't look like it matches up, at least from what he told Brett. So some people are like, why didn't he just like, why did he say what he said to Brett if it wasn't true, knowing that there actually was a recording out? And so someone I was reading through a thread said, especially because he could have just like said, what happened, and maybe people wouldn't like it, but people would still genuinely feel like I don't want him to go to jail for the rest of his life over this. It's over that, you know. So but apparent, there was information from Milley alleging that he wanted to attack Iran, and Trump was like, no, it was his plans. And so he's showing the writers like, no, see, it was him like the whole time. And he is even asking like, well, maybe you could use it. He's like, except it's secret. It's really secret. I could have declassified it, but I can't declassify it now. So that's the context of what's happening. So again, he's not going down for showing them these documents / maybe newspaper clippings anyway. But that's the context. It's been released. People were wondering if it was real and true. There was even some people saying, what if this is a deep fake? Or what if this is AI? Just mix it up for a second. He didn't deny that he was recorded or having that conversation. There's multiple witnesses. I don't doubt that the recording was real, that we just heard and listened to. Sometimes he talks too much, guys, but what he's really busted on though is moving the documents from place to place. Like he had him in Mar-a-Lago. He told his lawyers, they were trying to get it back, and he had his lawyers like come look at stuff while he had moved them. So the lawyers like told the FBI that they had the stuff. They didn't have all the stuff because Trump moved it, and he had someone else move them to that location where he's at, where they had that recording. And which he the person who flew the documents to the other location is now like implicated as like an accomplice in this. So we'll see how it all happens or what goes down. I think to me it doesn't look great, and I think they're going to try to throw the book at him if they can. I think it's possible that he could get some stuff thrown out. So I don't know what's going to happen. They might try to cut some deal. But I don't know how many people want to cut a deal with him, because I think at the end of the day they still want him to run because they think they can beat him. So I don't know what's going to happen, but a lot of people are still standing by him 100%. And he actually was in Michigan on Sunday for a Lincoln Day dinner. I didn't go, but my dad was supposed to say an opening prayer, which I guess they had like a couple of different like evangelical like faith leaders or whatever. They're supposed to say something. But if you're in the area, I don't know how bad it was raining all over the country, but it was really, really bad on Sunday. So I think, I don't know if lightning struck the building or just struck near the building or something, but the power went out. And so when I came over to my parents' house, and my sisters told me like, yeah, there was lightning and they lost power, so he didn't even get to speak, and my mouth just dropped. And I'm like, after all that, because my dad was really excited to be and honored to be asked to do that at the Lincoln Day. So that's too bad it didn't work out. But I've sung at Mike Pence when he first came to Michigan. I sang at that rally in Novi. I sang at a Trump rally. When was that? Right before the election, like maybe a week or so out, maybe the 2016 election. And I sang at a rally during the midterm. So it's always an honor when someone asks. So my dad did give the prayer that day when Mike Pence first came, but it's not quite the same thing saying that she opened up for the president or whatever for her opening prayer. So it was the storm. There were like trees like all over the place and in certain areas and stuff. The storm was really, really awful, and it just came out of nowhere. First, it didn't even rain that much at first. The wind was just crazy, and then it was just pouring. So at least everyone's safe. Too bad for Dad. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the content, enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Check out different merchandise that we have at the store. Like, I didn't show you guys any merch today. Now that I think about it. In the little intro, I don't think I showed any. I do have that pride shirt, the flag that says this is my pride flag, that's available on the website in different colors. I don't have a picture like right here to show you though, but I do have some pro-life stuff like life wins and Roe and Casey aborted. So we just had the anniversary of Roe v. Wade being overturned. This happened that past Saturday. Got black tea mug, got my mind and my business. 4th of July is coming up. We got the Constitution is a Glorious Liberty document with Frederick Douglass there. The You Are Not That Special. Perhaps we should send a shirt to Dana Nessel or a mug there so she can take a hint. So we got the different merch that you guys can get at the website. We also have different books. I have 17 books that I have. 15 of them are nonfiction. But one of my fiction, let me just go to the one that actually says that it's out. Books, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion is available on Amazon. So you guys can check that out, pick that up if you like it. And if you like what I do here, please consider legal donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream, it costs to run my website. So if you can, support in that kind of way, whether it's a gift of $10, $20, $50 or more, it's very much appreciated. So Bible says you have not because you ask not. So I'm asking if you can. I thank you to all those who watched live and in the comments. That does really help. Thank you guys who are watching it back later. Appreciate you guys. It's good to be back on my main channel. Again, if you didn't know, I got a strike for like having an interview last week. Well, I guess it wasn't last week, it was the week before. And now with Deborah Tilden, who's with Smart Women's Health Care. But you can go watch that interview on Rumble. A lot of people said it was a great discussion. So go ahead and check that out on Rumble because they took it down. But we're about to have another conversation tonight. Not with Deb, with someone else. But I'll be back here in about 2.5 hours at 8 p.m. Eastern time with my good friend, and we'll talk about her experience. So look forward to those of you who come back for the conversation, and I will see you guys hopefully tonight, but if not, tomorrow for a normal episode of Black Tea News. God bless.